Ask Me Decor. Thanks for joining me, and if you're new here, welcome. So today's video is all about a very special journey that my husband and I recently took. If you noticed, the past two videos were actually set to premiere because I wasn't here to launch them. And I don't know if you noticed that or not, but the reason I wasn't here was because we just spent 2 fabulous weeks in Europe on this amazing journey, and I want to tell you all about it. So this story starts a very long time ago. A man named James Roberts traveled to America from Wales on October 3rd, 1869. He settled in our area. He was actually my great-great-grandfather. As a child, I remember many stories that my dad told about his family and where they came from and how they started a church here. Many stories. To my knowledge, no one in our family has ever returned to Wales. Now, that man, James Roberts, he found a wife when he arrived in Pennsylvania. They married. They had 12 children. One of those children's name was Anne. She was my great-grandmother. She married a man named Morgan, and together they had a child named Thomas, and that was my grandfather. And then came my dad, and then me, and you get the picture. So jump ahead to present day. And we were preparing this year to celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary. And I wanted a trip. So it started out Hawaii, then it turned into Paris, and through all the changes and the trials and tribulations of trying to figure out where we wanted to go and celebrate our anniversary, we ended up deciding to go to Wales. I can't tell you what an epic, wonderful journey this was, filled with castles, train rides, wonderful people, a very welcoming, wonderful feeling from my ancestral country. So let's get started. I want to tell you the story of Wales. So I married my husband very young. I was 19, he was 23. I still wasn't done with college. We had a lot going on and we were very broke. So the idea of going to Wales was always in my thoughts and on my bucket list, but it took several years before that could actually happen. Wales is a country steeped in history and tradition and absolutely beautiful countryside. After a short ride on a train, we arrived in our host city, Llandudno. The hotel was very elegant with a pub and a dining room, perfect accommodations. The city was beautiful. On our way out of town in the morning, we got our first glimpse of a castle we were going to visit later on in the week. But today, we were on a coach bus on our way to a little town called Bedgelert. There were mountain views and little towns, beautiful churches. And finally we arrived in Bedgelert. The whole town was constructed of stone homes, stone bridges. It was quintessentially and delightfully Welsh. In Bedgelert, we boarded the Welsh Highland Railway for a delightful ride to Carnarvon. Carnarvon is a beautiful old town surrounded by stone walls. The centerpiece of the town is the castle. Now, it's an English castle, but the Welsh are very proud to tell you the story of how it was built and why, and what it means to them today.
This castle is the very place where King Charles was designated as the Prince of Wales back in the 70s. Now, we always thought that the Welsh language was a dying language, but our tour guide at the castle was sure to tell us that Welsh is being spoken all through Wales by the adults and the children. It's spoken in their classrooms, it's spoken in their homes. It is not dying at all. Next stop was Plas Cadnant. This was a Welsh manor home surrounded by acres of manicured gardens and woodland trails. And of course, there were a few sheep.
So once we decided to go to Wales, I knew that the anniversary symbol for the 40th anniversary was a ruby. So I was very hopeful that I was going to find a ruby on our travels. We had one free day away from the group that we could kind of explore the town on our own. I looked up some jewelry stores. I had a list of them on my phone, and we set out in the morning as soon as the stores started opening to find a jewelry store and to find a ruby. So the first store we went in really didn't have anything. Then we arrive at this second store, and it was a vintage jewelry store. So I told the woman I was looking for a ruby, anything she had in a ruby. So first she brought out these two rings, and they were tiny. They didn't even fit my pinky finger. They weren't gonna work. Then she suggested a pendant she had, which I was leaning towards, and she said, let me go in the back. And she comes back out with this ring. I instantly fell in love with it. It has 3 diamonds, which my wedding band has 3 diamonds. And to me that symbolizes 1 diamond for my husband, 1 diamond for my oldest child, and 1 diamond for my younger child. 3 diamonds on this ring seemed perfect. And there's 4 rubies, and it's the 40th wedding anniversary. Instantly I thought, 1 ruby for every 10 years. This ring couldn't have been more perfect. I said to her, so tell me the story. Is it this wonderful Welsh elegant woman who owned this ring? She said, I really don't know the story. But I said to her, just make one up. Make me feel good. Wonderful store. If you're ever in Wales, definitely stop in and visit her. But I walked away with the most beautiful ruby ring to commemorate my 40th wedding anniversary. Could not have been happier. A really fun thing that they did in Llandudno, which was the town that we stayed in, they had an Alice in Wonderland tour. So you went to the main statue, which was on the beach, and you downloaded the app. And then you could follow the rabbit tracks through the whole town. And there were very special statues scattered through the whole town, like Alice and the Queen and the Mad Hatter and the big clock. I mean, it was just so fun to find all the different statues. And you had to follow these little brass rabbit tracks that were like embedded in the sidewalks to find everything. So that was a really fun scavenger hunt and a brilliant way for the town to get the tourists to interact. It was wonderful. So the trip actually was a 5-day all-inclusive trip with a tour guide. The company providing the trip was called Vacations by Rails. And I can't say enough about it. Our tour guide, Kath, was just amazing, helpful, knowledgeable, friendly. Can't say enough about her. every night we'd go back to the hotel and we would have a 4-course meal with our group, which I can't say there was one thing they put on my plate that I didn't love. Everything was fantastic.
Now we find ourselves on a tramway headed up to the Great Orme. Now this tramway started out in 1902. It's very vintage, and what an enjoyable ride to get up to the Great Orme. The Great Orme is limestone and dolomite cliffs that jut out into the sea far above the town of Llandudno. On the top you'll find cashmere sheep running around, there's endangered butterflies and moth species, there's plenty of flowers, and the scenery and view you get of the sea and the cliffs beyond is just breathtaking. Llandudno Pier is a marvel in Wales. It's the longest pier in Wales and the 5th longest pier in all of England. It juts out 2,295 feet into the Irish Sea. The views you get of the Irish Sea and the town of Llandudno are just spectacular from this pier.
So we were hoping for some type of a family connection that we could find, or some locals we could talk to, and we ended up finding a man named Lord Roberts, and he was the pastor of a Welsh church. We ended up talking to him, introduced ourselves. We actually had a letter from our family that we gave to him to represent the people here in America that wanted some connection to the people in Wales. And he was thrilled with that. He took all of the information for the church here, and he is planning on corresponding with us. What a twist of fate that his name was also Roberts. There are a lot of Roberts in Wales. So, it's a very common name, but in my mind, I'm hoping that somehow he's a relation of ours. And we're really looking forward to possibly having a relationship with his church to our church in the future.
Let's take a tour through Gwydir Castle now. This castle is actually a Welsh manor home that's very old and is being lovingly restored by a very young couple. The castle is very old. They think that there was actually a dwelling here in 650 AD, and some of the parts we are looking at right now were built in the 12 to 1300s. That makes this castle 1,000 years old. Amazing. And what castle is not complete without its very own peacocks in residence? Another train ride takes us through the area of Porthmadog on to Port Marion, and then we head back to Llandudno. Oh, Conway Castle, you are beautiful. Look at these pictures, so majestic. This is another English-built castle to control the Welsh. But again, the Welsh are very proud of it because it's on their land and it's part of their history, and they love telling you the story. I got to be Queen Eleanor when we went through the chapel part of the tour, and that was so fun. I have to mention our tour guides at this point. They were wonderful, knowledgeable, friendly, so good at telling the story. We really appreciated every tour guide everywhere we went. A big thank you to all of them. You can't visit Wales, northern Wales that is, without visiting a slate museum. They are known for their slate, and it is fabulous. Almost every home in Wales has a slate roof. Every castle has a slate roof. They really know how to mine slate and put it to good use. And this museum did not disappoint. It was a real joy, and most of the men on the tour really got into all the tools there. You can see how worn and old and well used these workshops were, and the blacksmith was doing a wonderful job making love spoons. What a treat to watch. My husband and I love the national parks in our country, and in Wales, they've got Snowdonia, and it was breathtaking views. Again, more sheep in residence, and we went 3/4 away to the summit of Mount Snowdon. What a beautiful experience that was. These pictures barely do justice to how beautiful this was. What a treat. We all enjoyed the train ride up there and the train ride down. It was great.
So another thing that was so special was the last night of the tour. We had a very special meal. They called it the Taste of Wales. So everything was Welsh, and it was a delightful meal. Enjoyed it very much. Leek potato soup was the first course, and leeks are very special to the Welsh. It's one of their symbols of their country. So that was very wonderful. And then we had beef with Yorkshire pudding, which is a very British thing and perfect. By that night, we were all friends. We were mingling with the group. We were telling stories. We were laughing, having just the most wonderful experience. It was sad to say goodbye to all of them. I'll keep them in my heart and always remember that they were a special part of the trip too.
I met an old man. I said, tell me your story. He took out a notepad and wrote something for me. Then he kept walking on down the road, and I watched him disappear like smoke. And I thought I'd just seen a ghost.
So I thought it would be a lot of fun to show you what I actually bought in Wales. Now, preface this with Wales is noted for their wool. I'm telling you, there are more sheep in Wales than there are people. Sheep everywhere, every countryside, every hillside, every mountain, every farm. Sheep, every single place we went, we saw sheep. That is their big industry there. They make a lot of wool. That was my mission. I needed to find some wool. So the first thing I found were these amazing gloves made out of wool, and this is how you wear them. I just think they are fantastic. Little button right there. I can't wait to wear these in the winter. Okay, next up, I did buy a scarf. This is the name brand, and this name is actually very significant in Wales. Let me tell you about that. So the word is Cadwa, and I'm probably saying it wrong, but this is a very significant group in Wales. I got a little brochure about them. Cadwa is a Welsh word that means to keep. They're part of the Welsh government, and they protect Wales' historic environment. So anything including buildings, ancient monuments, historic parks, gardens, landscapes, underwater archaeology, all of this they are committed to preserving for the future. And a lot of the items that are produced in Wales will have this word on them, to keep. And I'm definitely keeping this scarf for a long time. In keeping with the whole wool thing, this blanket, fabulous wool blanket. It is so thick, it is so heavy. I was, really determined to find a blanket to buy because of the whole wool history. The blanket also has the word Cadwa on it. I really wanted something that had a real big part in their industry and their history. So we were looking, and like the first shop, they had them, and I wasn't sure, and price was, but I thought I really want it. Then we go to this other place, and their shop, the blankets, same blankets, super expensive. I was like, no, that's not happening. So then we go to a castle, and we're walking through the gift shop of the castle, and they have the blankets. Price was reasonable, and then the girl tells me they're 20% off today. I was like, the only question is, which one do I want? So I chose this one because one of the women in our group was from England, and she told me if I really wanted something that looked very Welsh, to get a plaid. So that is why I chose this color. It has like a caramel color in it, gray, and then there's this little bit of green in the fibers. It's hard to tell on camera, but there's like gray and green in it, which matches my house perfectly. I think this was a good choice. I think it definitely looks Welsh. Welsh is very famous for their love spoons. So this is the love spoon I chose. The woman actually carved it with our initials, A and J, and 40th for our 40th wedding anniversary. And she said that any spoon with a heart on it means I love you. And last but not least, I picked up a couple books. Everywhere we go, I always pick up books. I want to get home and read more about what I saw and what I experienced and find out if there's any information I didn't get while I was there. So we did pick up 2 castle books. We did go to Conwy Castle and we went to Carnarvon Castle. So I did pick up a book about each one of those. Beautiful pictures, the history of the castle. Wonderful. We went to Gwydir Castle. I got a little guidebook about Gwydir Castle. Very interesting. This is one of the oldest buildings in Wales. They think that there was something home-wise on this property in 650 AD. This structure you're seeing on the book was actually built in the 1200s. Ancient. And it is being lovingly restored by a young couple. The wife of the couple that is restoring the castle wrote a book, and this is her journey. They owned the castle 5 years. She wrote this wonderful book about her experiences restoring this castle. So she actually did autographed my book for me right there. And I'm very excited about that. And that is going to do it for souvenirs. Trip, what an epic journey. Friends, scenery, railroad trips. You can't imagine. It was just packed full of wonderfulness. And I'm so glad that I got to experience it. And I'm so glad that I got to share it with you. So that's going to be the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe right now, that would really help me. And I can't wait to see you in the next video.